Back when I was in high school, I had this cooking class. It was honestly one of the only parts of my school day I actually looked forward to. We'd make all kinds of things: garlic bread, soups, desserts, roasted vegetables. I was pretty good at it too. It was quiet, focused, and creative. It gave me a break from the chaos of everything else. One day, though, I was working on a dish that didn't finish cooking before the bell rang. No big deal. I left it to cool and told my teacher I'd come pick it up after the next period. Later that day, swung by the classroom, picked up the plate, it looked amazing, by the way, and headed to my next class. I didn't have time to eat it, so I figured I'd just keep it with me. That's when the trouble started. I walked in, and there were two girls already sitting at their desks. I sat down, pulled out my stuff, and set the plate down on the edge of my desk. One of the girls glanced over and raised an eyebrow. "Where did you get that?" she asked. "I made it," I said, casual. She looked at the other girl and laughed. "No, you didn't," she said. "Yes, I did." "It's from my cooking class," I replied again, still calm. She kept laughing. "No, you did not. You definitely didn't make that." They both just sat there, smiling, giggling, repeating, "No, you didn't. No way." I reminded them that I was in the school's cooking class, that I made food in there every week, but they didn't care. It was like talking to a wall of smug laughter. I brushed it off, just figured they were being immature, and got back. 2, working on an assignment, but then escalated. A few minutes later, without saying a single word, one of the girls stood up, walked straight over to my desk, and tried to casually grab the plate of food like she owned it. No asking. No joke. She just picked it up and turned around like she was going to walk away with it. I reached out and gently grabbed her arm. "Hey," I said. "What are you doing? That's mine." She looked back at me like I was the crazy one. "Let go." "Of me?" she snapped. "Then let go of my food," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. The other girl immediately jumped in from across the room, yelling, "Let go of her. Can't just grab her like that." "It's my food," I said again. "She's stealing it? I'm not letting go until she puts it down." What followed was this ridiculous shouting match, both of them yelling at me to let her go, accusing me of being aggressive while I just stood there, holding her wrist with one hand and pointing at my plate with the other. Finally, she jerked her arm out of my grip and stormed off. I worried she'd put the food back on the table. Nope. I turned around and saw both girls sitting side by side. Eating my food, they'd opened the plastic, dug in, and were now acting like it was no big deal. Like nothing had happened. I walked over and stood in front of them. "Give it back," I said. They didn't even look up from their phones. "Shut up," one of them muttered. "Go away." That was it. I said, "All right," grabbed the plate from the table, ripped off the rest of the plastic wrap, walked straight to the trash can, and dumped it all inside. Then I turned, left the room, and took the empty plate back to the cooking class. I didn't yell. I didn't insult anyone. I didn't throw anything. But the second I got back to the classroom, I could feel my blood boiling. I wasn't just angry about the food. I was angry about the attitude, the entitlement, the way they thought they could take what wasn't theirs, and laugh in my face like I didn't matter. So when I walked back into the room, I made a choice. I walked up to the first girl. She glanced up at me, confused, and I spit in her face. Then I turned and spit in the second girl's face too. Both of them jumped up, screaming, absolutely losing it. They cursed me out, called me every name in the book, stormed out of the classroom to go report me. I didn't say a word. I walked back to my desk, sat down, opened my notebook, and went back to my assignment like nothing had happened. Just like they did after stealing my food, of course. I got called into the principal's office later that day. We all did. We sat down in that office, the two girls, myself, and the principal. They told their version of the story, that I grabbed her, then I assaulted her, and then later spit in their faces out of nowhere. The principal looked at me and asked if it was true. I calmly explained everything, how they taunted me, stole my food, and refused to give it back. How I tried to stop them, how I dumped it and walked away. Finally, how I spat in their faces after they acted like they did nothing wrong. The principal frowned, looked at them, and gave them a stern talking to. Told them stealing wasn't okay, that taking other students' belongings wasn't acceptable. But that was it. No detention, no suspension, no calls home. Then she turned to me. I got a 2-day suspension for grabbing the girl's arm even. Though she was stealing my food and for the spitting incident, but what really set me off was what she said next. She told me, okay, and I quote, "You shouldn't be grabbing girls by the arm like that. You could traumatize her, something women go through in real life." I just stared at her, completely dumbfounded. I asked, "So, if someone doesn't want to be traumatized by being grabbed while they're stealing someone else's property, maybe don't steal?" I didn't swear, I didn't yell, but yeah, my tone had a sharp edge. She didn't like that either. My 2-day suspension turned into 4. But you know what? Even though I got punished more harshly, I walked out of that school with my head high, because no matter how unfair it felt, I knew 2 things. They learned that I wasn't someone they could push around, and they'll never forget the day they got spit on in front of the entire class for stealing something that wasn't theirs. On the drive home, sat in the passenger seat, silent. My parents didn't even scold me. I think they knew. Sometimes, doing the right thing doesn't mean following the rules. Sometimes, the most satisfying justice comes in the pettiest form. And this was mine.